Good morning, everybody. We're live from the birdhouse. It is Tuesday, August 22nd, and we are going to give you an update about some of the different things that you can find in the upstate New York area and what you can look forward to seeing in the near future as we're getting more and more into fall migration already. As always, we love to know who's on. You can say hi in the comments. If you have any questions, you can throw those in there too. And we always just like to know what kind of things you're seeing, so you can throw those in there as well. Here we go. So the first major update we have is we're getting lots of reports finally about hummingbirds coming back to people's yards. It's been a long haul, and a lot of people haven't had much luck, myself included, with getting them all summer long. But now they're starting to refuel for their migration. So they'll be here for a couple more weeks in general, although we do see some and hear some reports of them being around through the whole month of September, but they're really gearing up for migration. So don't be surprised if you start to see your feeders becoming more and more active. So you want to make sure that that nectar is kept fresh and your feeders are kept full. If you keep your feeders out, that's not going to keep the hummingbirds from migrating at all. They will migrate no matter what. So you can keep that food source out as long as you want. And as long as you still have hummingbirds coming, I would definitely keep it out because it is an important source of calories for them as they're making their migration down south. So people are reporting a lot of hummingbirds coming back to their yards, which is really exciting because it's been not a very good year for the hummingbirds. So you can, we've got a whole bunch of different types of nectar here in the store. We've got mixes, we've got stuff that's ready to use. You can just pour in your feeder, or you can always make your own using white granulated sugar and water. And the recipe is 1 part sugar to 4 parts water. So you just want to boil that water, mix in the sugar, let it cool, and you can put it in your feeder. So we've also been doing birding tours on the Erie Canal, and we do have 2 more coming up with very limited spots available. So if you're interested, I would absolutely get that going now. I would absolutely check that out. The next 2 are September 11th and September 18th. So they are both Mondays, and they're leaving out of Pittsford on the Sand Patch boat. So space is limited, and there's only a few spots left. So we haven't been advertising it too much because they've been selling out so fast. And we just did one on Thursday of last week, and we actually, because the Sand Patch boat was broken, we went on the new Rivery boat on the Genesee River, and we saw all kinds of really cool things. So that was really fun. So next year we'll be doing a mix of not only the canal rides, but the river rides as well. So some of the birds that we saw on Thursday on the boat were osprey. So we saw one osprey was following the boat for quite a long time. We got to see it dive into the water to try to grab some fish. So that was really exciting. So that bird was hanging out by the water for a good portion of time. Towards the end of the trip, we also had 2 merlin fly over. So they made a very short, brief appearance towards the end of the trip. Lots of kingfisher too. We've been seeing a lot of kingfisher on the canal also when we're doing these trips. So we should be able to see them on the next 2 coming up in about a month. We'll still see some kingfisher, but we saw a lot of kingfisher on Thursday. We did see a kingbird also, so the flycatchers are still out there. You can tell that this is a kingbird because it's got that white tip on the bottom of its tail. And then lots of cedar waxwings. So we've been seeing cedar waxwings both on the canal, and we saw them along the river as well, hanging out in some of the dead branches. And they were flying around, grabbing some insects out of the air, probably going after berries, if there were berries on those trees. So we did happen to see quite a few cedar waxwings across all the trips that we've gone on. We've seen some cedar waxwing. And then on Thursday, we had a tree full of double crested cormorants and great egrets, which was really neat. They were all coming in towards the end of the trip. As it was approaching sunset, they were all flying in and starting to land on one tree. So there's one tree totally full of the double crested cormorants and great egrets, which was really neat. And this is what we saw a ton of, which was really exciting. So the great egrets are making their fall migration through the area. And if you go by any kind of body of water, you might happen to see them. Any kind of little pond, there were a ton of them by the river on Thursday and yesterday, actually, when I was walking along the river. Lots and lots and lots of great egrets. So they are making their way further south for the winter, but they look like a great blue heron, but completely white, and they've got the black feet, and they've got that yellow bill. So a lot of great egret are out there right now. So this is a bird you're more likely to see in fall than in spring. We really don't get this big push of them in the spring like we do in the fall. We saw a lot of great blue heron. So, we saw probably, I would say, mostly great egret. We did see several great blue heron hunting and fishing along the river, and several green heron also, which are significantly smaller than the great egret and the great blue heron. But we did see, probably 4 or 5 of the green heron, which was really exciting. Now, we didn't see this, but the captain of the boat had said that they every once in a while come across black-crowned night heron as well. So we were on the lookout for them just in case. You never know, especially as we were going on in the evening and it was getting closer to sunset. We were keeping our eyes open for black-crowned night heron. But some different ducks that you can find now, and as we're getting into more migration season, there's going to be more of a diversity coming through. But you can always see the mallard ducks. In fact, we saw a bunch of these on the birding tour also, but any kind of body of water, you're probably going to come across some mallard ducks. There's also what are called black ducks, which are darker in color, and they don't have the white stripes on their wings like the mallard ducks do. If you look at the mallard duck, either at rest or in flight, they've got that colorful patch on their wing that's outlined in black, and then it's also outlined in white. The black duck doesn't have that. So that's how you can tell the difference, especially when they're in flight. It is pretty obvious. And as we go on over the next couple of weeks, be on the lookout for what are called northern shoveler. They almost look like a mallard duck, at least the males do, because they've got that green head, but then they also have a really wide bill, which they'll use to probe into the water and get their food. So northern shoveler we'll see more of, especially as we get into waterfowl migration moving on. And blue-winged teal, same kind of a thing. Some different ducks that are coming in. Northern pintail, especially if you're out by the Montezuma area, they get a whole bunch of northern pintail flying through there. And common Merganser. So this is one of the diving ducks that we'll start to see more of, and they'll be here all winter long. And the common Mergansers, just like other diving ducks, will dive under the water to get their food and pop up sometimes in a totally different spot. But we'll start to see more and more of them as the season goes on. Same with red-breasted Merganser, and they've kind of got a crazy feathers on the top of their head and that bright red eye. And then there's also hooded Merganser as well. So a bunch of different ducks that we'll happen to see in the area as time goes on. And white-winged scoter will be making their way back also. So some different things to be out on the lookout for if you're by the water, if you're by any kind of large body of water. Same with bufflehead. They've got the white patch on the back of their head. Ruddy duck, which right now look like this picture on the left. The other picture is really their breeding plumage. They have that bright blue bill when they are in breeding plumage, but right now they're not as brightly colored. But ruddy duck we'll start to see more of. Same with redneck grebe on the left-hand side picture. That is their non-breeding plumage, so that's what they're going to look like. They don't really have that bright red neck at the moment, but we might start seeing more of those. Historically, they start to come back into the area around now. And if your eyes are to the sky, check out the sky for possibly common nighthawk, even in groups. This is a bird you're most likely to see in the evening, but as they migrate, they will migrate during the day, and you can see those white stripes on the bottom of their wings. So that being said, that's some of the bird activity. We're still hearing a lot of reports about monarch butterflies, and they are laying their eggs, and their caterpillars are chomping away on milkweed. So you can still absolutely go out and see monarch butterfly activity. And within the next about 3 weeks or so, we'll be in peak monarch migration. So they are still around, and we'll be having even more coming through the area as we get closer to their migration. This is what their egg looks like. And you can see what their caterpillar looks like too. And as they grow, they get quite large. So that is what I have prepared for you guys today. If you have any comments or questions, you can throw those in the comments here. It looks like we've got some people on. Tree Climber says, I'm refilling our hummingbird feeder. Thanks. I was worried it would deter their migrating. Nope, not at all. Things like the length of day will help kind of trigger that urge to migrate, and it's not necessarily a food source being left out. So they've been doing this migration historically for years and years and years, thousands and thousands of years, and keeping a feeder out for a few weeks longer than you think you might need to will not deter them at all from migrating. Let's see, Stephanie is on. It says, now I want to go on a bird watching cruise of Cornhill Landing. Those were some spectacular sightings. Yes, we had a good time going out of Cornhill Landing, and we'll be doing that again next year. So let's see, Steel Monkey is on and says, hi Liz, the hummingbird nectar I'm using says it's colored with natural red carmine, no artificial dyes. Is that okay to use? It should be. We always say to just steer clear of any kind of dyes, especially like food coloring dyes. But if it's an all natural dye, it might be some fruit-based dye or something like that. I'm not super familiar with it. But if it's in the nectar, it's probably okay to use. But I would just stay away from using any additional dyes in your nectar as well. Tree Climber says, Metro Detroit Daughter's Flower Garden has active hummingbird visits. Sounds like a perfect place for hummingbirds. Lots of flowers. Yeah, if you've got red tubular flowers or orange tubular flowers, keep an eye out for lots of hummingbirds visiting those and your feeders right now, because they are getting ready to migrate. So it's about that time of the year. It looks like that's everybody's comments and questions for today. We'll be back on Saturday with another broadcast. And until then, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.